in a few decades, a country can transform from being a developing country to a middle income country.
If you are an investor and you would like to support or invest in the Somaliland market, especially in this context or in Africa in general, come in with money alone. It won't make you the return on investment you're looking at, but rather you also should look at how can you provide different supports.
Without the diaspora kind of looking to invest back home, is difficult for other investors to have that kind of trust in investing back into Somaliland, because it kind of starts from within.
Welcome back to African. Our central philosophy at Pharo Foundation is that enabling the local private sector is the key to Africa's sustainable development. It is also the ultimate way of scaling up the development process. And we catalyze this process through our Pharo Ventures social enterprises in our 4 countries of operation. But we're not alone in holding this belief in the central role of the private sector. And while we're trying to trigger its catalysis through our external intervention, others are doing this from within the fabric of their own countries. Today, I am highlighting Bilow Capital, a unique company from Somaliland whose 2 co-founders are transforming the Somaliland private sector from within through a variety of innovative initiatives. Hana Kaise Abdi is the co-founder and general partner of Bilow Capital, an impact investment firm based in Hargeisa, Somaliland, which is dedicated to unlocking the potential of small and medium enterprises and startups across the Horn of Africa. With a strong focus on inclusive growth, Hana has a background in international relations, bringing a global perspective to local economic development and fostering collaborations between international investors, development partners, and regional entrepreneurs. As a passionate advocate for grassroots entrepreneurship, Hana's mission is to empower founders with the resources, training, and access to capital which they need to scale. Bilow's second co-founder is Ahmed Ali Mohamed. He is a serial entrepreneur and ecosystem builder with a passion for creating businesses that drive impact. Over the years, he has launched and grown ventures in trade, logistics, and construction across Somaliland and Ethiopia, and expanded into healthcare investment as vice chairman of ATU Daril Hospital, a community-focused hospital in Hargeisa. With an MBA and a background in business administration, he blends strategy with action. So my first question is going to be to Ahmed. You previously shared with me that your vision is to build a thriving economic ecosystem where diversity and investment opportunities catalyzes lasting impact in the Horn of Africa. Now, in Somaliland, such an ecosystem does not exist. With reference to your country's historical context, could you explain to us why the ecosystem is lacking? What are the specific conditions that you're dealing with? And what is your biggest challenge?
Francesca, thank you for this beautiful introduction. I'm delighted to be here and as a guest of your podcast. So Somaliland ecosystem, if I just go back to the historical context of Somaliland and its ecosystem, in the 1980s, the government of Somalia has launched a military campaign and against Somaliland, and that has gone for a few years from mid 1980s up to 1991. That has led to a total destruction of Somaliland social fabric, economic infrastructure, government institutions, and a death of hundreds of thousands of people. So literally, the private sector has been wiped out. And then post that terrific and horrific times, in 1991, Somaliland, started to build up again. The communities came together and started to build, the country from the ground zero, with no much of international support, no external or significant help. It was just a community coming together to talk about their destiny and where they're heading. Um, we have in Somaliland successfully created one of the most interesting political system that has been praised and talked about, in around the globe. So we basically created a local solution for a local problem. We integrated our indigenous way of governance with the Western, democracy structures, and that was the first pillar of rebuilding the ecosystem. Once you have a functional governance, and then everything else will follow. And then the next step was the security sector. We made sure that we demobilize the militias, and we're bringing all these militias into one single army, and that has led into the private sector coming into the scene. The government didn't has much of finance, but then our private sector, these companies that has been in function during the civil war. For an example, one of the biggest success during the civil war, during the horrific times, was the Shield. So the Shield was a money remittance, a company that has created a solution during the war, connecting the diaspora into the local people, and sending the money. And that has, in the 90s, there was no easy way to send money, so they have to go through lots of routes to make sure that the money goes into these families. And then fast forward, big companies came in, they put in infrastructure, telecommunication infrastructure, and then slowly the ecosystem started to take shape. Diaspora started to coming in with their expertise, with their money. The real estate sector started to slowly pick up. International NGOs started to realize that there is a hope in this tiny country in the Horn of Africa. And then actually that how the ecosystem took place. And then, fast forward to today, the challenges we have, and Bilow Capital is navigating and working around, is this ecosystem is there, but then it's fragmented. So we don't have a unified vision from the private sector and the government to work together and to create that conducive environment where startups, founders, and SMEs can, thrive. So we, in our, in our mission to build the ecosystem, we talk with international investors, we talk with the government, and make sure that everyone understands the importance of collaboration to create that collaborative environment. So Bilow Capital, for the last 3 years, we're constantly engaging in bringing in these actors in one table, talking about the environment, talking about how to move the legislatives, the limited access to capital, the limited human talent. All these are limiting factors to thriving ecosystems. We've been in discussions and in collaboration in one hand, and also on a company level, we started to create few services that will enable the systems. For an example, one of the biggest challenges is when investors come in, they ask us for a pipeline. Do you have a companies that we can invest in? And then we started a whole business development service where we take companies through an acceleration, SMEs through an acceleration, startups through an incubation, and then make sure that we equip them with the right tools and with the right mindset for them to speak the same language as the international investors. And then post the investment, we also keep on supporting them on a managerial level, on a process level, on a product level, marketing level. So these are ways that Bilow Capital is working around the really challenges in the ecosystem within Somaliland.
Very, very thorough. description of the challenges and the general context. Thank you so much, Ahmed. So moving on to Hana, I think it comes through even in what Ahmed has already said, that despite this very challenging context, you both actually display a huge amount of optimism, which is fantastic. I mean, it's interesting because having been to Somaliland, I actually really share that. So Hana, you said to me that the transition from low income to middle income country can happen much faster than people think. And this is certainly what China has proven to us in the space of 2 decades. What do you think, Hana, is necessary for the economic development process to accelerate in a country like Somaliland specifically?
Hi, Francesca. Thank you so much, first of all, for having us on this podcast. It's great to be here, and I really appreciate us kind of being able to have this discussion, especially as two organizations that are both operating on the ground in Somaliland. So yeah, I think in terms of optimism, we really have to stay optimistic and kind of always have that thought of the fact that we can develop in such a short amount of time in the back of our minds, simply because it has been done before and we can do it as well. I think there's some of the examples, one of them being China and some other Southeast Asian countries, really shows that in a few decades, a country can transform from being a developing country to a middle income country. And so we like to hope that Somaliland can take the same path as well. I think if I was to pick the 3 top kind of factors that would help progress Somaliland or Somaliland's development, I think the first one would definitely be governance and institutions. We are a free and fair country that is a democracy and has democratic practices, but at the same time, we still need a lot of work in terms of institutional reform, and really kind of building our institutions up, and making sure that they're the pillars of the public sector. I think another one would be education and human capital, and really building on human capital through education and giving the kind of extending universal education, as well as technical or vocational training, and really kind of working towards implementing more technology into the education system, making education more widespread in terms of really getting to all parts of Somaliland, to increase that side of human capital, and being able to really kind of develop the workforce needed for for us to grow as both a country but also economically, and then investment, I think in all kind of sectors, but not just in from specific sectors, but I think mainly kind of from a top down and bottom up approach. So really from the top down, kind of like foreign direct investment, national level investments into in Somaliland, and then kind of the missing middle, where it's more investments in private equity and really kind of attracting more investments for medium and larger sized enterprises, and then from the grassroots kind of level as well, more access to finance for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, whether it's investment, whether it's loans, kind of giving those businesses of that size access to finance so that they can grow their businesses. And yeah, I think those are kind of the key factors we need for Somaliland's development.
We need to put you in charge. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have known. You do fantastic. Okay. So, as a sort of application of this slightly, theoretical construct that you've just presented, could you please tell us a little bit about the Bilow Venture Lab? And also, I hear that you have plans for a Somalilander Dragon's Den for the Venture Lab participants. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yes. So the Bilow Venture Lab is in the accelerator arm of Bilow Capital. And what we do is we have two different programs for both SMEs and startups. We have a few key elements that we incorporated into the Bilow Venture Lab. And I think this is what really makes us unique in terms of the first of its kind within Somaliland. So the first thing that we really made sure we did was to have tailored curriculums. We saw that there was a need for business development, but also business development as relevant within this market. So what we didn't want to do was kind of just copy and paste curriculums from other parts of the world and then try and implement it on the ground in Somaliland, but rather tailor the curriculum for the needs that the founders face, the challenges, that the founders face, but also to make sure that we can that they can relate to the material that they're learning. So that's the first, I think, kind of unique aspect of the Bilow Venture Lab. Another thing we do, which I'm really proud of, is gender lens investing. So we really make sure that every cohort has at least 50% female founders in each cohort. And this is so that we can help more female founders attract investment, and so that they're able to grow their businesses. Another key factor is the investment readiness. So a large portion of the program is dedicated to getting founders investment ready. And so this entails everything from checking that their legality, making sure that they have the skills to for storytelling. So telling investors what their product or their kind of business is, selling themselves as founders, having everything from their pitch decks to their asks to their financial projections ready for investors, and then innovative investment solutions. So one of the things that we were able to create was a platform that would link diaspora angel investors with businesses on the ground that have gone through the Bilow Venture Lab Accelerator, and that are compatible with the angels or investors kind of what they're looking for. So if in terms of businesses, if they're looking for agribusiness or fintech, kind of matching them with the right founders. So using the Bilow Venture Labs as a kind of due diligence process for investors, and then for founders, you kind of allowing founders to go through this 16-week program where they are able to utilize the business development side of it, the investment readiness element, and kind of come out on the other side more well prepared to take investment. So yeah, that's Bilow Venture Lab in a nutshell. And yeah, we're really excited. We're hoping this first cohort should be finishing towards the end of this month. And so we're really excited about creating a Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, if you like, type event for our founders, where we bring along investors and they're able to pitch to them live, and then hopefully raise investment for their companies. So yeah, it's something we're very, very excited about and we're looking forward to.
Thank you, Hana. Back to Ahmed now. Going back to one of the aspects that you've both mentioned in passing, but I want to devote a question to this, is finance. Would you say that it is the most important missing link for Somaliland businesses?
I think, yeah, finance can be, a big aspect or a big part of what is missing in the ecosystem. And I think finance can only function, if finance can only function in an ecosystem if the investor understands, the ecosystem and how it really functions. Oftentimes investors, when they come into Somaliland or the African markets, from the Middle East or from the West or from Asia, the benchmark is against these markets. So they will tell you about, if I come into this market, I need 10x as a return on investment. And then, oftentimes they are disappointed. They don't like what's happening. I think investment finance is a very integral part of the process, but then beyond capital, this ecosystem needs a patient capital, not only any capital, but it's a patient capital that really can unlock the potential of the founders and SMEs and startups. And beyond the capital, there are also few other elements that can and has to come with the capital. So if you are an investor and you would like to support or invest in the Somaliland market, especially in this context or in Africa in general, coming with money alone, it won't make you the return on investment you're looking at, but rather you also should look at how can you provide different supports, such as a management support, strategy support, sitting down on a board of directors of these portfolio companies and providing strategic guidance means a lot to these founders and startups. Connecting them to the right talent. So oftentimes investors that come from abroad, they have a plenty of pool of talents. So as simple as bringing these talents to Somaliland, for example, in our portfolio, in these SMBs that are now in our accelerator, some of them in healthcare, some of them are in a printing or design, and media sectors. So as simple as understanding the machine, what machine you should buy to print your creative and colorful designs, what type of machine you should buy, how big, how it is small, how it should function. These expertise are lacking in Somaliland. So the moment that you decide to invest in a printing company, but not bringing in the talent with it, it really will make it really challenging for the founder itself. If you come in and a textile industry, we're supporting a textile company, for example. Now there's a lot of technologies. There's a lot of talk about how AI can help in design and fashion, help people to wear optimal clothes in different seasons. So integrating technology into day-to-day operations is really an important aspect of the business. So capital alone will make it, but then you need capital that comes with all these different elements. So basically, it's beyond capital.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ahmed. So my final question to both of you is regarding the Rise platform. Actually, Hannah already touched upon this a little bit, but I just want to wrap things up here in a more sort of philosophical way, if you like. So if you would like to explain what the Rise platform is and how you leverage the diaspora to build the ecosystem that you're trying to create in Somaliland. And then, in your opinion, the essence of my question is whether the intervention of the diaspora is necessary until the ecosystem is rebuilt, or whether Somaliland private businesses can create the ecosystem on their own is my ultimate sort of question. So maybe Ahmed, you want to take a stab at answering that first, and then we move on to Hannah?
Yeah, exactly. I will touch on a single point and so basically Rise platform. Basically, in a nutshell, Rise platform is an investment platform that connects investors with potential and high growth companies that has gone through Bilow Venture Lab. They have gone through the accelerator, and we have made sure that they have gone through the due diligence, the capacity building, and these are companies that we think they have a big potential. And because in investment, trust is everything. So we go in detail to make sure that these companies are legit and they are potential companies for investors. So that's on one end. And then on the other side, we look for impact investors that has an impact in mind, that they want to contribute back home. They want to help create jobs. They want to help, challenge maker, solution providers on the ground for a local solution, for local challenges, right? So it's a platform that connect both. So that's in a nutshell what is Rise platform. And then the opportunity with Rise platform is that oftentimes diaspora, especially we're talking about Gen Zs, people that hasn't seen Somaliland, they don't know anything about it. They don't share much of a culture with the elders because they're born in these countries in the Middle East or in the West. So their first language is French or English or Danish or Finnish. So they don't have that cultural connection. But then they have the conscious that this is their mother country and they want to do something back home. So this is really a platform that connects with the Gen Zs and these youngsters that want to contribute, that understand the language of impact, investment, innovation. So it's a platform that display companies and startups to these youngsters who wants to connect back home, send money, expertise, and so on and so forth. So we're really optimistic that Rise platform can be a game changer in a Somaliland investment landscape. And maybe Hannah can, she's been working on this for a longer time. She'll definitely dive into more details.
Go ahead, Hannah.
Thank you, Ahmed, for explaining the Rise platform so well. Yeah, so as Ahmed said, the Rise platform is that kind of platform that will enable the diaspora to see more on the ground businesses and be able to really have eyes on the ground and really be able to see the opportunities that are available. It also acts as a risk mitigation mechanism, which allows the investors to have more confidence in investing back home, knowing that their due diligence has already been done on these businesses and that they've had that enhanced and business development as well. I think it's also a great way for those people that are really in the diaspora that haven't had the opportunity to invest before, or haven't really been able to come back home, to feel like they are able to contribute to the ecosystem. So I think in terms of are the diaspora relevant in building the ecosystem? Absolutely. I think they're essential in building the ecosystem. And I think, as with a lot of kind of things, or a lot of aspects that Somaliland has experienced, the diaspora have always kind of been a cornerstone in developing the nation, whether it's through politics or investment, education, knowledge sharing, remittance. There's always been so much that the diaspora have contributed back into Somaliland. And I think ecosystem building is definitely another key contribution that the diaspora can be part of. And I think without them, it'd be something that wouldn't be sustainable. So and I mean this in a way that without the diaspora kind of looking to invest back home, is difficult for other investors to have that kind of trust in investing back into Somaliland, because it kind of starts from within, if that makes sense. So yeah, they're definitely a key part in building the ecosystem, and I think it's crucial to make platforms like this, like the Rise platform, and hopefully more other avenues for the diaspora to have that ability to invest back home.
Great. Thank you so much, both. That was a very interesting discussion on many levels. Yeah, thanks again.